Hey everyone, welcome to the 35th episode of the Wheels Walking Podcast, a podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a guy not in a wheelchair.
Oh, what up?
Friendly reminder, this isn't always wheelchair talk. We talk a lot about not wheelchair stuff.
I think in the last episode, actually, we talked about the non-cursing thing in the beginning, but there's been a couple episodes recently where I've looked back and I'm like, we didn't really talk about paraplegic stuff or wheelchair stuff or disability stuff that much.
Or spinal cord injury stuff or anything like that. Yeah, so if you're coming over from the main channel, hello, what's up? Glad you're here. If you're coming here from any of the podcast interviews that you've heard on other people's shows recently, what's up? Nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here.
How'd you like the other podcast?
This is the Andrew that I've been talking about right over here. This is the Andrew.
Dude, it's so funny too because I've recently been like talking about just random things with people, and like people ask me about the Shorty Award thing, and people just don't like understand it. They're like, wait, so you're like the cameraman, so like why'd you win it? And I'm like, no, like I'm like I'm fully part of it.
Yeah, it's like Richard is the personality who's got like the ideas, and you're like, I'm the creative guy who has the camera who like puts it all together. It's like There's a million analogies you can make, but it's like with a movie or something. There's like the actors and then there's the director. A lot of times I'd say I'm the actor, writer, you're the director, producer. Probably some the AJ movie guys. That sound about right?
That sounds pretty correct.
Yeah. I mean, granted,
and I'm pretty erect. There it is. And that's why you tuned in.
And we are already in the dick sand.
We're already off the rails.
Yo, we always get feedback from you guys that these are your favorite parts. So hello. glad you like it. Oh goodness, man. So one of the things I also appreciate about you guys is that y'all are so opinionated in the comments, and thank you, but also know that more than likely everything was strategic, and I'm not gonna change.
Yeah, well, I think you're mainly referencing the last main channel video we did.
Yes.
Called "How to Be an Independent Wheelchair Wife" or something along those lines.
How to be an independent wife in a wheelchair, and the controversy was a combination of the title, which everyone thought the word like partner would be better, or housemaker or homemaker would be a better title. And I'm like, well, she's known for being a bride who walked down the aisle, so I'm going to make sure that she's now a wife.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, your thumbnail looks sexist. It looks like a 70s, like ad for a vacuum cleaner, like, be the right wife, be the woman your man intended, vacuum, and you're in charge of cleaning. And, I remember I don't disagree either. But I remember when I reached out to Allie initially and talked to her about what kind of video we wanted to make. She goes, yeah, people have been on my Instagram asking me about like how I do stuff around the house, and I filmed it, but I didn't have the patience to edit it. So we'll just make a combination of that video all together. And I was like, okay, cool. Since you're, not a mom yet, let's talk about how to be a wife, and we can put it inside of our relationship series, which is why I made the reference to the video about, a few weeks ago I did a video with my friend Pete about how to be a good dad. So today I'm here with my friend Allie, who's going to teach us how to be an independent wife in a wheelchair. And a lot of people didn't like that I drew that parallel as well. Yeah. Because they're like, well, what's the parallel between a dad and a wife? Like, it's so different. And I'm like, yes, obviously.
Well, I think with any relationship, I think what we hit on in the dad video is you have to split up your responsibilities. Like in any relationship, there's going to be things that you do and things you must do to keep that relationship working. And in Allie's case, her job is that she does like Instagram stuff and writes like articles and stuff, right? Or she's like a moderator on one of the websites.
Yeah. So I think she writes articles for the Christopher and Dana Reeve website. She takes pictures and captions, and she does fashion blogging. So she's got a Like to Know It app or something like that. She gets like a kickback if people buy from her thing. I honestly don't really know. But the main point is her job is like she can work from home. And her husband, I'm actually not even sure exactly what he does. I have no idea.
But the thing is the responsibilities around the house, if she can take care, if there's going to be things around the house that need to get done, she's going to be doing those things and Amos is going to do the other things. And just like in any relationship, like we were saying in the dad video, it's like, yo, wheelchair guys, like don't feel emasculated if like your wife is out mowing the lawn
and
like, you're cooking or whatever.
Or sweeping and
like
mopping
there's
or whatever,
there's vice versa. Like we could have easily made the video with Pete where it wasn't with the kids and it could have been called How to Be an Independent Wheelchair Husband, and it could have been him doing stuff around the house, cooking and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like,
well, I think it can be applied to anyone, like how to be independent, period, because it's not sex specific, you know, doing dishes and vacuuming and mopping and making the bed and grocery storing. That's not specific. It just happens to be that's how Allie chooses to live her life. And that's what
stereotypically that's like the wife duties, like, oh, that's woman work or whatever. But
I mean, she knows that. And when we talk about that off camera a lot, it's like we literally like, both videos we've done with Allie, we have pre-called the type of comments that they're going to get.
Oh, for sure.
I was like, so many people are going to think this is like chauvinistic and sexist. And she like laughs. She's like, well, my mom told me never to depend on a man. So here I am like making sure that I can do all my own stuff. And it was just really kind of interesting. And Grant, I mean, that's not how my relationship works at all. My relationship, if anything...
Well, you're not married and you don't live in the same house, but...
Correct, but I'm just saying my, I guess, duties or whatever you want to call it look more like Allie's stuff, you know, where I'm doing the cooking and the cleaning and the shopping and whatnot, you know, so it's like, it really just depends, but a lot of people, and rightfully so, but I think once you see the title, or you see the thumbnail, you're like, hey, that's kind of sexist. You read the title, you're like, oh man, well, let me click on that and be upset for a little bit, but if you watch the whole video, in the context of the whole video, it makes perfect sense. And also, this video is performing #1 out of the most recent 10 videos we put up.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
Gotcha? Question mark? And, you know, like, that's the whole part of YouTube is get you to click on the video.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we could have gone with how to be an independent wheelchair homemaker or how to be an independent... like, there's a million things we could have named the video, but the point is to get people to click, and I'm sure in your research of what the best title would be, wife made the most sense
for searchability. Yeah, so if a young girl who wants to be married or wants to be a wife or is married or is a wife and she's searching, you know, how to be a wife, how to be a homemaker, you know, she's literally she's in the hospital.
Because in the tags we did put the other things, I'm sure.
Yeah, I put spouse and partner, you know, like as other keywords, you know, how to be an independent spouse, how to be an independent partner, like so no matter how you search for it. Yeah, I don't even like the word homemaker. That just seems...
It seems weird, yeah.
That seems even more sexist to me.
That's like a word that's not racist, but feels like it has like racist undertones for some reason.
It just feels...
I don't know why.
It feels like a like a pat on the head. Like, oh, you don't have a real job. You're just a real homemaker. Oh,
yeah,
let me just pat you on your head.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. But anyway, so like, don't worry, guys. I heard your feedback, but I strategically made sure...
And we knew that was going to be the feedback, and that's the thing. It's like,
and if you are really upset about the title and the thumbnail, like, we consulted with Allie. Like, Allie was the one who sent us the thumbnail picture.
Yeah, like, you're being offended on behalf of someone who's 100% not offended, and I get the whole, maybe she's not offended, maybe that's the thing that she chooses, but you're still reinforcing gender stereotypes and blah 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 blah. And I would encourage you, if you wanting reinforce some other type of gender stereotype, then you make some YouTube videos about that and do your own thing.
If you've never created anything in your life, someone was like, well, why didn't you just wait for the mom video that you asked for at the end? And I'm like, you don't know how video making works, do you? Especially collaborations, you work whenever the person's available, not based on like what's best for the timeline of the, like, why does it matter if
I would push back on that, but it's like, no, because we're not gonna wait for her to fucking have a baby.
No, I'm just saying,
we can just find another mom if we need a mom video. We're not gonna be like, okay, little girl, you're the only girl I know, so I'm gonna wait 18 years until you have a kid, and then I'm gonna make a mom video. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
The argument was that I supposedly should have made the mom video first instead of the wife video, and in my head I'm like, No. Why does it matter what comes out first? Why does it matter? I don't understand why does it matter what comes out first?
Hey, don't watch this one. Wait till the mom one. Watch the mom one first, and then come back and watch this one. There you go. Ta-da!
And even before the video, I've got a mom
so
video
dumb.
that I've been cultivating for a while. There's this really cool quad who just had twins, and like, yo, if a quad can have twins and still have her like level of independence, and like, okay, that's gonna be a cool video. But they're babies, and we're in COVID, and
COVID,
and we're trying to keep things local right now. I'm not trying to drive or fly to Virginia at the moment to try to.
Yeah, there's certain
do a
videos that
mom
we'd
video.
fly for. A mom video just doesn't really seem like a video that we'd fly for. I'm sure we can find moms.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But then we went and shot a video with our friend Abby Sams, who is attempting to get involved in the
The paralegal
and the paralegals involved in the Paralympics because she's got a degenerative
HEDS, right?
Yeah, a degenerative disease.
Yeah, I think she did call it a disease at one point.
Or
'Cause we were talking
disorder.
about like what the
Slow
correct terminology is. It's like a progressive genetic disorder.
That's right, disorder.
Yeah.
But anyway, so her and her twin sister both have it. I think she has the H in front of it, and I don't know if her sister does or not.
I don't know.
But we talked a lot about it. It was really cool. And it was a sports video, a racing video. And let me tell you, I felt like not like an expert and very out of shape.
How'd your balls feel?
Dude, I crushed them so hard when I first sat in that chair. I literally had to like get out of the chair, do a full blown up tuck, and hold them up as I was sitting down because you're so squeezed in that chair. You're so compact that like.
Yeah, it's funny
Like
because
my balls were up to my neck.
Well, it was funny because so the video that we did, it's coming out next week, or yeah, it'll be out in a few days by the time you're listening to this. But she's got one of those racing chairs where you're sprinting for a track.
Yeah, track
and
chair.
like for running or not running, you know what I mean? But
but running.
The equivalent of wheelchair running. And basically she was saying that a lot of guys have the kind of chairs where you're like kneeling because of that reason, because like your balls are like literally just sitting in a freaking like a tight little thing. You know what's funny is sometimes in yoga, I'm mainly in the class with like a ton of women, and there are certain poses where I'm like just my balls are just like not in a good place, and I'm like, oh,
I remember
this is weird. I'm the only one that's experiencing this problem right now.
I remember there was a time when I tried to get into yoga for a little bit, and mainly I could only do one kind of yoga, which is the long holds for like 4 to 5 minutes.
Are you talking about pre-injury or post?
Post. And also it was the like really basic, really beginner, but you do it like on your back, your belly, your butt. Anyway, I remember I was farting. I was farting a lot, and I remember being so embarrassed until I was in a class. And
was it loud?
I mean, I was farting. Yeah, I was vegan farting. Well, it was.
I'd be farting.
Well, I was doing outside yoga, the King of Pop's free yoga here in Atlanta, and then I decided to go try it for a studio, whatever. Anyway, I remember this one, I was in a room full of girls and I like farted and I was like so embarrassed. I was like, oh no. It was mainly women or whatever. And then I remember throughout the rest of the class, I must set a precedent that like, yo, it's cool to fart in here, because like everyone was just like ripping them. Like just.
Dude, that's honestly
it was like we'd be like, and now we're gonna touch our toes and all right, we're just
dude,
gonna,
honestly, fuck it. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of in the spirit of yoga. Honestly, it's like just let it go. Anything you're holding, any tension,
release your tension.
Any tension you're holding in your body. That's kind of amazing, actually. That's funny.
But I was like,
dude, I've definitely
okay.
heard some farts in yoga class. You're not the only one for sure.
Yeah.
And I think also like people would cut you a little bit of slack too. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
But the funny thing, actually, we'll talk about iAccess later, but I saw that they're looking for specifically, they're trying to find some sort of wheelchair yoga thing. Like Umama put something out, and then Brandon reposted it about how they're looking for some sort of like seated. They're looking for a yoga instructor who could teach a class that's like seated.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know what's gonna happen with it, but like,
well, I know how to grab the apple,
Yeah.
Twist the apple off the tree.
I feel like
put it
Hannah
down in the
Hannah
box.
teaches yoga too. Hannah Gavious.
Yeah,
is a
she does
yoga
more
instructor.
stand. She doesn't.
But she can stand.
She's standy. Yeah.
She's a little bit standier. But yeah, the video that's coming out next on Monday that's another thing we were trying to figure out if we're gonna change the schedule or whatever. Are we going to? What do you want to do?
We're talking today about it. We got to figure it out. Yeah. Ever since Shorty Awards, there's been like pretty much all the videos are like last minute.
Yeah,
and
which is my fault.
But I remember even like at one point I predicted it. I was like, hey man, let's change. Because this is what I was thinking, and this will make more sense when we talk later, but also, like, one of the things that make Wheels to Walking is that you and I do things in parallel. Mm-hmm. Like, from the beginning, if you go back to early days, like, if you remember, my whole thing was, like, how can I hack the system to be around Andrew more often? You know?
Yeah.
And we used to do a lot of stuff together. We used to work out together. We'd go on trips together. We'd do videos together. Like, everything was together mostly. And recently, even our work schedules haven't been aligned. Like, you mainly like put a lot of heavy lifting in on the weekends. I normally have the weekends where I'm chilling. You know, I want to find a way for like Monday through Friday is like our work week. And then
weekends we have off.
And then weekends we have off.
My mentality was always like, if the weekends you're taking off and editing I can only do by myself, it makes the most sense to do editing on the weekend, you know, because then that's the time that like, I mean, I don't really need to consult you on editing. I just need to fucking buckle down and just do it, you know?
But during the week seems better because it's like an actual work week. And then we both have like, it's Friday at 5. Like, yay, weekend. And then Monday comes along.
Yeah, I mean, the weekend really doesn't mean anything except for other people's stuff. Like, it only
But on the weekend is when family wants to get together. The weekend is when there's like events and parties. The weekend is when everyone else is trying to relax because most people that work 9 to 5 have the weekend off, you know?
Yeah, that's what I kind of mean. It's like, it doesn't really matter to me what my weekend is, but it just matters to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I just saw that there was you were having a lot of distractions during the times where you needed to be working.
Yeah, and like especially last week's video, dude, like it was just
grind.
It was just I don't know what it was, but it was just a drag to edit, bro. Like I literally was just like sitting there and I was just like,
you're like standing up, sitting down, walking around, standing up, sitting down, walking around, going like,
the main thing was I would edit like one little thing and then I'd just be like, oh, and then I would like pick up my phone and look at it and like scroll, and then I realized I'd like wasted like 15 minutes doing something stupid, and then I'd like stand up and then I'd like, okay, I gotta get refocused.
It's not really like super action packed or super compelling. It's really info based, and it was a lot of different shots, and we were doing it indoors.
I mean, it wasn't even that many shots. It was just like, it was like 2 different mics, and the color was like, that was the other thing that the last video fucked me on, was the sound and the color, which like, you don't really think about that when you're watching a video that much, but oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know enough.
I had to export it like 4 times too, bro.
I saw it was like V3 main final.
Yeah. What was wrong with the color?
Dude, it was just like the lighting was bad in her house. Like we only brought like a couple of lights, and I mean it was fine, but like the like white balance settings I had weren't that great, and like the color turned out fine. Like the final video.
That's why I was asking, because it turned out great.
Yeah, because I busted my ass to make it look good. That was the thing. It was like it looked so weird and rough and like too orange and you know like whatever. But anyways, yeah, it was just like. It was just very very annoying video to edit, and I was just like really freaking struggling. But dude, I gotta tell the story about what happened when I was editing, dude. So
oh yeah, dude.
So me and AJ live together, and we also have another roommate named Peter, and I didn't realize, so I was editing, and it was like on Monday at like, I don't know, like 2 p.m. And the video was basically already due. Like I was supposed to already have like given it to Richard in the morning, but I had stayed up until like 3:30 the night before, and I was like, fuck it, I need to go to sleep. I'm not gonna like, I'm not being productive right now. Like I just need to like go to sleep and try to do this again in the morning. So when I woke up in the morning, I just been editing all morning. I hadn't even like left my room. I think I went down at one point like around noon to like eat. But that was it. I hadn't left my room. And so AJ didn't even know that I was home. And like during the morning, he was like playing music a little bit and stuff, but like nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that was like too loud. I had my headphones in for a lot of it because I was trying to get the sound right and all this stuff. And then at one point, Peter came home, and the upstairs bathroom is Peter's bathroom, but AJ uses it sometimes because his office is up there. So I heard the door kind of slam a little bit loud. And so I was just going to mess with AJ because I thought it was AJ.
Yeah.
And I just go, like, as soon as the door slams, I can just go, shut the fuck up! And then no one said anything.
Just silence.
So I'm like, either he didn't hear me for whatever reason. Maybe he had headphones in. Maybe he thought I was being serious. And then my brain goes, oh, or maybe Peter's home. And maybe it was Peter and not AJ. And so, and me and Peter just don't really have that relationship where I'd like do something silly like that with him.
You can't jokingly scream.
Yeah, I mean, like
in his face.
Yeah. So, but Andrew was downstairs in the other bathroom, and he just hears a bang, and then me yelling, "Shut the fuck up!" And he's like, "What did you think,
Dude, because I was playing the music like scorchingly loud. And
I had my headphones in too, so I couldn't even.
Dude,
that wasn't even like a factor.
And I thought
playing the weekend.
And I thought it was just Peter and I there. So like and I was like right underneath where he like, so he like stomped a little bit and he said, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, he's talking to me.
Oh, because the stomp.
So I felt bad about it, and I waited a little bit for him to cool down.
And then did you like text him?
I texted him.
Like, hey, sorry, bro.
I was like, dude, I had no idea you were home. I'm sorry that my music was too loud. And he was like, nah, dude, I'm fucking with you.
Dude, I honestly was joking. The reason why I did it was because I heard the door kind of slam of the bathroom, so I was just joking. Like, there wasn't even any other noise, really, that I even noticed. It was just so funny. And then when I finally told them, they were both like dying laughing.
I had a scream across the apartment, shut the fuck up moment the other day. Like I have two alarms I normally set in the morning. When the first one goes off, I turn off the first alarm or I snooze it and then I turn it off. But then I'll forget about the second alarm. And dude, the most irritating sound in the entire world is the sound of my alarms. Like, I want to light this apartment on fire when I hear those alarms. Like, I cannot stand them. So I go to pee, and as I'm peeing in the other room, I hear, I'm like, ah! So I started like out loud. I was like, I can't stand the sound of alarms, and I'm gonna keep making this noise till I'm done peeing. Oh my God, this is annoying. Like, I just started like making loud noises that were louder than the alarm because I can't stand alarms, but I was stuck. I was like in the middle of peeing. I couldn't just like pull out my cath and go run to the other room and like turn it off. So like for a minute and a half, I just like was screaming like a psycho.
And then your neighbor?
No. But I thought about it. I was like, I wonder if, because my bathroom
is like their
my bathroom is
that wall is thinner.
It's the only wall that isn't concrete, I don't think. And I was like, they probably heard me singing the song of "Fuck you, shut the fuck up" to my own alarm. I was like, I hate your face, you are really annoying, like I just started like just making all these insane noises because like I literally cannot stand that alarm that much. Like there's a fire that rages inside of me. Even if I'm in public,
you know what?
And someone has those sounds as an alarm for something else.
Oh yeah, it's
I'm
the
like,
worst.
Oh, I'm gonna murder.
I know which one it is. It's fucking annoying.
Well, there's like two of them I have.
Is it like the default one that's like?
Well, there's one on the iPhone that's like the mom.
I can probably play them right now. Hold on.
I kind of want to hear it.
Dude, but you know what is a
So
blessing and a
immediately.
curse? You know what's a blessing and a curse for me? So I have a Google Home.
All right, hang on. This is the sound. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah, you have to like voice activate it to turn it off.
Um.
The Google
Hold on,
Home.
Andrew. Stop talking. I'm still gonna look for it. Oh yeah, that's
Can't
annoying.
stand that one. That one drives me nuts. And then also I got one more for you. Hold on. This is another one that's really annoying.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
one
yeah.
sucks.
Oh, this is the one I was screaming at. I was across the apartment. I was like, like I can't.
Dude, I
I used
set it
to-
on a harp one time, and it's so nice.
Yeah, the little doon, doon, doon. Dude, you know what I want? I want to hook up my lights so that the lights slowly turn on with my Google Home. But the thing about the Google Home that's nice is you can snooze it just by yelling stop.
Oh.
So it's like it literally is voice activated, but that's also a curse because then you don't even have to like get up to snooze anything. You're just like stop, and it just stops. So you have to set like 4, just like back up one. And it's nice because you can just right before you go to bed, like you don't even have to look at your phone. You just be like, okay, blank, wake me up at this time. I just said blank because I didn't want anyone listening to set off their thing.
There's Schmexma and Schmoogle.
Yeah, Schmoogle is the one I have.
Schmexma. Okay, Schmoogle.
You know what I feel really bad for is anyone named Alexa. Like if your actual name is Alexa, your name has been ruined.
You probably changed it. You probably made it
I don't know.
Alex or Alexis or like.
I know a couple.
Imagine being in like over at a friend's house and your name is Alexa, and all of a sudden the dad comes downstairs and goes, Alexa! But he's like,
play digger.
But he's yelling at to turn the Xbox on or something.
Yeah. What if you named your kid Xbox? That'd be the dumbest thing.
What if you named your kid
Xbox on?
What if you named your kid the same way that Elon Musk just named his kid with like numbers and letters and symbols and like what the hell?
Dude, that's what I'm gonna do. No, but
it's the sound that
I used to have this app called Alarm Droid that was legit as hell, and you could make it say certain things. So my alarm used to go, "Good morning, Andrew," like, and it would start off quiet, and it was like, the temperature today is this, blah, 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 blah.
That sounds like something straight out of a movie.
But then I would do like certain goofier things. So like my backup alarm would be like, wake the fuck up, you lazy sack of shit. You already snoozed 19 alarms this morning. That was my alarm in high school. It would literally be like, wake the fuck up, you lazy piece of shit.
Goodness gracious. All right, before I jump into this next topic, let me just go ahead and do the ad read.
Yes.
This is a good one.
iAccess.life.
Have you ever gone somewhere new just to find out you can't get in the entrance or fit in the bathroom? iAccess Life is a lifestyle mobile application that allows people to rate and review how accessible the parking, entrance, bathroom, and interior space of the location is. iAccess Life was developed to provide peace of mind for people with physical impairments and their loved ones, while they seek new adventures and create memories. Download iAccess Life today for iOS and Android. Visit iAccess.live/WTW and use the code WHEELS. There's also going to be all the links in the description and in the bio and in all the areas.
The bio.
Well, all the areas that there's supposed to be links.
There would be no links in our bio.
Well, where I don't know.
Wherever links are sold.
Wherever links are found.
They just had an update, right?
Yeah, they had an update, and I asked them. I was like, "Hey guys, like, what's new about the update?" And they're like, nothing too incredibly special, but still, go ahead and download.
Now the app works better. Yay!
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so go ahead and download the app. Give us a review. Not us a review.
And the code is what? W2W.
W2W. Yeah, but start reviewing places. And
and again, I think that you guys have been rating a lot of places. Like they seem really happy with it, so keep it up.
Oh yeah, and special shout out to Silk. It's either Silk or Silky. I don't know.
I think it's Silky. I feel like he said it one time. I don't know.
I think it's
I don't know. Is it she? I don't even know. The last name David throws me off because I'm like Silky David.
Well, I thought it was.
I don't know.
You know how in the US they do the names backwards, like Silky David or David Silky. So I used to call her
Silky. Silk. I don't know.
And she's one of our. Dude, I swear it's a she.
Okay.
Please, Silky, don't be mad at me. If you're, I swear, I used to be like, okay, David, and she was like, I'm a she, from Germany, and she's one of our higher tier patrons. So what's up? Thank you, and thank you for supporting the company
and listening to all the podcasts,
walking, yeah,
and commenting and everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Always good quality comments.
Indeed.
And I always learn so much cool stuff about Germans. They're like, we'll be talking about cars and be like, yeah, as a part of our driving test, we had to learn how to rotate tires and change oil and fix a flat.
Dude, Germans are the shit.
And here in the US, it's like, I don't even know how to replace my own windshield wiper blades. Or they were like, yeah, when you get a new bike, a part of getting a new bicycle is like learning how to fix it up and tune it up. And like, I'm like, way to go, Germans.
Dude, in Germany too, if you own a dog, the dog has to be like professionally trained and you don't have to use a leash anywhere. Because all dogs, in order to have a dog, you have to basically have like a dog license.
Oh, interesting.
And like all dogs are like trained like very well.
Like service dogs.
It's kind of like, yo, if you want to have the privilege of owning a dog, like this, it better be a good fucking dog. It's not gonna like attack people randomly and shit. It's really cool actually. It's like, so I remember I was walking around and every dog was off a leash. I'm like, what the heck?
You're like, what's going on over
yeah,
here?
but it was really cool. Speaking of applications and apps, Apple had their new WWDC this week. And for all my tech nerds out there, you probably have already watched this. But basically, WWDC is normally their live event where it's their worldwide developer conference. So it's pretty typically very heavy on software. And
it's
it's a conference, so it's literally like I think like a week long, and developers go, and they normally have a live presentation. But this year was the first time they haven't done it live because of COVID. So they had like they flexed on the production value.
Did they do like really good? I mean, Apple always
It was
does really
a video that was just like a presentation, but I liked it better because there wasn't all the awkward pauses for all the claps and shit. Like all the fanboys weren't like
the people in The Verge on their computer on Twitter just live updating everybody.
That's how it was, but they were live. It was almost like a live presentation. Like it was like a live viewing. Like it wasn't really a live thing at all. It was a pre-done video, but it just kept going and playing.
It was like a premiere on YouTube.
Yeah, it was kind of like a premiere.
PS4. I mean, PS5.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, I liked it better. I think it was cool. I mean, obviously, live events are always awesome, and then all the tech reviewers and stuff get to go and like get hands on immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was a really good event, and they flexed on their production value, dude. Like, props to whoever was like in charge of doing that video because they killed it. Like, it was really good.
I saw where they had a wheelchair user present at one point.
They did actually. Yeah, she was using like one of those cool power chairs.
It was the same chair that our friend Carden uses.
Yeah.
What's up, Carden? Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, Carden of milk. She's
a force to be reckoned with. You know, she got the lights on the top of the King and Queen changed for like an awareness day for her type of disability. Like
that's cool.
One day they were orange, and I was like, "That's strange. I wonder why they're orange." And then I saw she posted up a picture with her next to Brandon about FSH or FHS. I don't remember, but basically, that's her type of disability. And it was like an awareness day, and it was orange, and I was like, "Oh, I wondered why they were orange." And she was like, "Your girl did that."
That's pretty cool.
I was like, "No way to go, Carden. That's awesome."
That's awesome. But they did have a wheelchair user presenting. I don't remember what she was exactly presenting, but I thought that was pretty cool. But it's really funny. So they announced like iOS 14, which is like the new software and all this stuff.
Does it have COVID tracking? Do I have to make
They
sure I
already did
wear
the
a
COVID
tinfoil
tracking.
hat every time I?
The new Apple Watch software actually has this cool thing where if it senses you washing your hands, it'll put a countdown timer for the amount of time that you need to wash your hands. Cool. Which I thought was pretty cool, honestly. Here's the thing.
It's tracking our biometric data. I don't want Apple to know what my heart rate is and my blood pressure is and my oxygenation.
Then don't fucking use it. Here's the thing that's funny is I don't really fuck with Apple. I don't really use any of their products. I don't really enjoy using their products that much, but I respect the fuck out of them and like everything they do because every time they make new innovations, they push the industry forward. And that is the power that they have.
They usually are like
and
the industry.
Richard used to work for Apple, so it's kind of a funny dichotomy because, and also I used to own Apple products. Like when the first iPod Touch came out, I had a couple of those. I had an iPod Nano growing up. I even at one point had one of those like iMac it was the iMac, right? The big bulb one with the colored with like the
iMac,
handle on the top. Yeah, I had one of those iMacs. My brother had a MacBook. So like I had an iPod Shuffle. Yeah. So, and I even had one of the touchscreen iPod Nanos. Like, I've owned a lot of iPod products in my life.
That was back in the day when jailbreaking was hot, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I jailbroke my iPod Touch for sure.
Jailbreaking. Jailbreaking was really, really fun. But one of the reason why I stopped jailbreaking was all of the features that I had added on.
They
added on eventually. So I'm like, I don't need to keep adding in all these things
and
that's local and native. And that's a strategy that Apple does is they look into the jailbreak community and see what the popular hacks are, and then they hire that person as a developer, they
outsource it and they fuck over those developers. That happens a lot too, for sure.
Yeah, but
they'll do it in house and completely steal the idea. That definitely has happened.
Notification Center was the biggest example of that. A notification center, the pull down notification center from iOS 4 to iOS 5. Like iOS 4.3.5 was solid for a long time, and that was the most jailbreakable iOS. And you could do
There's so many
You
things.
could turn that phone into a Batmobile. You could do anything to it. And then there was like inside of the jailbreak store called Cydia, there was a ton of like really common, obvious, like if you're going to jailbreak, do these things. And one of those things
was a notification
the
center.
notification center. And iOS 5 comes out, bada bing, bada boom, notification center.
Yeah, well, the common theme here is that they definitely have been paying attention to the jailbreak community on this run. And most importantly, they there's a common theme here that is just hilarious. Like as I'm watching it, I mean, it's always been a common theme of, oh, haha, Apple's copying Android. But it's so funny to me because here was the argument back when I was in high school and I had my first iPod Touch. So that was the thing. I had an iPod Touch and I had an Android phone. So I had the best of both worlds because I could use all the iPhone apps because iPhones definitely had better apps at the time. And then I was using an Android phone. And here was the funny thing that I got back all the time was people that were iPhone users, they would always go, well, Android's just too confusing. You've got all the like widgets on the home screen and blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's so confusing. You've got all these different, there's too many ways to interact with it. So there's too many things. I like it simple. So now Apple has basically taken all the complex things and stacked them on top of this simple interface. Dude, like iPhones no longer are intuitive or simple. Like
I would wait
so
to
funny.
get your hands on the software before you say they're not intuitive. And the reason,
dude, the old iPhones. If I gave my grandma one of the old iPhones, which she does have, there's a home button to go home. That goes home all the time.
Yeah.
You've got all your apps on the home screen all the time. You can find them very easily. Now, you can in the new iOS, for example, you can hide home screens. You can hide apps finally. They don't have to be sitting on your screen, but they can still be downloaded on your phone. That's been a feature on Android since like 2010, but they finally, why did they do that?
They now have a file
because
management system too.
Yeah, they've had that for a minute, I think, right?
The iPhone?
On iPad OS, they've had it for a while for sure.
Let
me just get through this. Okay?
Yeah, sorry.
So iOS 14, here's things they've copied from Android. There is now widgets on the home screen, so you can put widgets on your home screen. Not anywhere you want, but you can. It's still like, you know how iPhone always like top left aligns everything.
It like wiggles.
You can't even put a widget in the middle. It's got to be either on the right or the left. But you can have widgets. You can also, there's now an app drawer where, for example, on Android, if you swipe up, you got all your apps in alphabetical order, or you can sort them by category. Now there is that on iPhone, which is hilarious to me. Now you can set third-party default browsers and third-party email client services,
That's cool.
which is like, duh. Why now?
Walled garden,
Why
baby.
the fuck now?
Walled garden proprietary software under the guise of security, man.
Yep. So another thing that is a big deal is now when someone calls you, the calling doesn't take over your whole screen.
Oh, it's just a drop down
So
bar.
it's just a little drop down thing. Again, that's been on Android for a very long time.
That was
Another
a jailbreak thing, yeah.
When you click Siri, it doesn't take over your whole screen. It's just a little discrete thing in the bottom. Google has been doing that for a fat minute with their Google Assistant. And then also Apple Maps finally added a cycling option only in 5 cities right now, but Google Maps has had cycling since 2010, and Apple Maps just added traffic, which Google Maps has had from the beginning.
I thought I see traffic all the time on Apple
Or maybe
Maps.
it was like updated traffic, whatever.
like
when
live
they were like,
traffic
yeah,
or
it's
something.
live traffic. I don't know. And then the last thing is floating video. So this has been a thing on Android for quite a minute, and it's so funny because there's on Android, that was one of my favorite things, is that you can be inside of an app and then leave the app, but still certain elements from that previous app stay on your screen. So for example, if I'm on YouTube, I can watch this video with Allie, and when I press home, the video is still floating around on my screen, and I can do whatever I
That's
want.
unheard of in Apple land.
And now on iOS 14, they are introducing picture-in-picture, where if you're watching a video and you press home, the video is going to keep playing on your home screen. And the coolest part is that you can also swipe it to the side and it will only have the audio playing, which is dope, which is also a thing on here. So, for example,
same thing with FaceTime.
Yeah. So like I can press this little headphone button and now I'm just listening to the audio of it. And then also on FaceTime now, you'll be able to be FaceTiming with someone and then go home and the picture-in-picture will be floating around. You'll be still able to FaceTime.
Kind of like when we're on Instagram.
Exactly. And it's just so funny. Oh yeah, and also they added a translate app, and it's like, oh yeah, Google Translate has been the standard for translating for so fucking long. Why now? Why in 2020 do you try to make a competition?
I know.
What?
So this is what Apple does. Apple is never the first to do anything.
Of course not.
But the general public tends to think they are because that's when it gets the most traction.
In the United States.
In the United States, yeah. So
they're not the most popular.
What they
phones.
do is they pay very close attention to the market. They pay close attention to what people like, what people don't like. But they're never going to be the first to do anything because they want,
except for steal your headphone jack.
Because they want everyone else to work out all the kinks, like all the betas, all the alphas, all the kinks, all the likes, all the dislikes, what works, what doesn't. So when Apple implements, they're never first, but they're always the most polished version. They're not the best, they're not the most perfect, but they're usually the most polished, meaning like the least buggy, the most intuitive. Well, I burped when I said intuitive. The least buggy, the most intuitive. And I know, kind of going back to your intuition argument, like I remember when I went from the iPhone 6 to the...
I disagree in the case of the MacBook and switching to USB-C and taking away the auxiliary port, but keep going.
Yeah, I'm only talking about phones here.
Auxiliary port was phone.
Anyway, so I'm talking about software design because we're talking about WWDC here.
Yeah.
So the swipe up...
Well, you said they're paying... Continue. You said they're paying close attention to the market. They're not the first to do anything.
But we're talking about software here. Like we're talking.
Well, you're saying Apple. Okay, if you're talking about software, then we're talking about the touch bar sucks.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. The touch bar is software and it sucks ass.
Okay,
and they were the first to do a touch bar.
It's hardware. But
dude, by the way, that interaction happens every episode. Andrew always say a comment, and then Richard will go, okay.
Keep going. Sorry,
because it's like I'm agreeing. I'm not gonna argue back. And then, so like, I remember thinking the swipe up was so like I was like, I want a button. I want to press a button. But then when I very quickly learned how to use the swipe up for home button, I was like, oh, I like this way better. This is far superior than a button. So I think sometimes it takes just a little bit to get used to, but once you get used to it, I don't know. I feel like whenever I'm on Apple products, specifically software, I feel like a freaking ninja. I got like, everything.
That's not called being intuitive. That's called knowing the software like the back of your hand. That's called knowing and using the software for so long that you feel one with the machine. That's exactly how I feel with my phone and my computer, neither of which are Apple products. And I would say, actually, I have greater control because I have so many things that I can customize with my specific phone that if I gave my phone to my brother, he wouldn't even know those things because they are not specific to Android necessarily. They're specific to me and my phone, and I've customized.
That's been the pro Android argument for a long time, was that like, hey, you can actually customize this. And that was the reason why people would jailbreak their iPhones, is because they wanted the autonomy, they wanted the freedom, they wanted to do whatever they want with it. But Apple is very much about security and closed garden, and like, you're like, oh, outside email clients took them forever. It's like, you're right, it did take them forever, but they had to make sure
you could use them. You couldn't make it your default.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they're fucking bitches and they don't want to give up control.
Facts.
It's like, it has nothing to do with security because they're still letting you do it. They're just not letting it be your primary. Like,
but you have to like agree to like all these things that are like, if you get hacked or you get phished or if there's a virus, like it's not our fault.
We live in 2020. We're giving up freedoms to use free software every single day. Like, that's nothing new. And like the thing that's just so funny to me is that
how legally robust Apple is.
There is just this idea in everyone's head that like iPhone is the simple and easy and intuitive software.
Well, that's what
iPhone is the easy and simple and intuitive software. And it's like nothing about the new stuff for the past probably 4 generations has been it's only simple and intuitive to everyone because it's been built on this base of simplicity over years and years and years. And if you handed an iPhone to a kid, they'd be able to use it instantly. But like in the way that intuition and like if you have intuition, like you would be able to look at something and like automatically know how to use it. And I would strongly argue that there isn't. With a lot of the new software on iPhones and even on iPads and stuff, a lot of it is not intuitive. It's really cool. I commend them for doing it, but it's not necessarily intuitive. For example, swipe down on one side of the top on an iPhone, you get one thing. Swipe down on the other side or in the middle, and you get another thing. Like that's completely weird. The whole force touch thing. That was another thing that they were first to do. Anything with pressure sensitive stuff, and it totally flopped. The new iPhone SE doesn't even have it because it was so confusing. Like the force touch, it was basically almost like a double or a right click for certain things, and then for other things it would do, like you never were able to predict what it would do unless you just fucking tried it, which again is not intuitive. You should know.
Well, it was like a tap, a press, and a long press. There's like three.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the force touch and like the whatever the heck they called the like hard press, the pressure press was like so hard to like differentiate between like a long press and that. Like I was always just so confused whenever I picked up an iPhone because I would think I was long pressing, but really I was like force pressing or whatever the hell. And again, it's just not intuitive.
I don't know. I think once you learn it, it's very intuitive. Like
once you learn it, it's intuitive. No, that's counter. That's not what that means.
Once you spend a couple of hours with it, but I guess you're right. That's the opposite of intuitive.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I commend them, and I think that's why I use Android because it's not necessarily intuitive. Like it is complicated, but once you use it, it is so powerful that it becomes the superior thing. Like Premiere Pro, not very intuitive, but I use it for editing because it's the best. If I wanted something intuitive, I'd use like iMovie or something like that,
or Final Cut or something.
But like I if I want
Canva.
The thing that's simple, I'll choose the thing that's simple. But I am not choosing the thing that's simple on purpose. And it's just so funny when people. I'm not even saying Apple's making this argument anymore. They're not on stage going, "It's the most simple and intuitive operating system on the market." They're not saying that. But I think that that's still in people's minds that they're like, "Oh yeah, Android is just so confusing." And it's like if you hadn't been learning all these little iterations over the years, if you picked up an iPhone for the first time and you were still and it was like the first thing you'd picked up since an iPhone 4, you'd have no idea what the fuck you're doing.
True.
You wouldn't even know how to go home. You know?
True, yeah.
Like literally you wouldn't. So I just think it's funny. And but I commend Apple. Like I commend them for doing this because these are features that power users have been taking advantage of for so long. And yeah, they're probably going to have them very refined and all this stuff. For sure. But that's the funny thing is like anytime you add another layer of complexity, that's when you run into problems. And that's what people always dog like Windows and Android on. It's like, oh, it's too complicated. And that's why everything breaks all the time. It's because like Apple's able to keep everything so simple. But it's like the only way they can like still evolve and innovate is by inherently making things more complicated, I guess, because you're adding more to it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think you touched on a good point where it's like, imagine you didn't have any knowledge of phones, whatever, and then you plop down an iPhone and an Android to, say, Granny at 65. It's like, figure this out.
Well, the iPhone like 4, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 even were very intuitive. There was a layout of all of your apps. You were never going to like not know where an app was. Mm-hmm. You press this button at the very bottom. It takes up most of the screen real estate. And you press that button and this thing always happens. And then they started adding in Siri. And then they started
the long
adding
touch
in
and the double tap. And like, it's like whenever they make one button do a bunch of things, that's when it gets complicated. Yeah, I'm sorry for like yawning in everybody's face. I was up way too late last night.
Yeah, and the thing is like I'm not gonna go out here and say that Android or Samsung or anything is not without its faults, bro. Like there are so many annoying. Dude, you know how many fucking times I accidentally pressed the fucking Bixby button on this phone? Fuck you. Dude, there's a button on this phone. There is a button on this phone that makes my phone do a thing I don't want to do, and I've never used it ever, and it's always asking me to update Bixby, and I just press cancel every time I press it. Because I don't want to use Bixby, Samsung.
Well, how do you turn it off? How do you remove
You
it?
can't.
But didn't you just say that this
It's
is
a hardware button.
a most robust can't you switch that hardware button to mean something else or do something else?
Samsung locks you in. I'm not talking about Android. I'm talking about Samsung.
Oh, it's a Samsung.
Because that's the thing. It's like Samsung makes the hardware. Android is the software.
That's always been the challenge.
On a Pixel phone, there's no fucking Bixby. There's only Google Assistant.
Yeah.
Well, I have a Samsung now too.
Now
so
you do.
I do have Bixby, and it
Is there a
annoying.
Wait, is there a Bixby button though?
I just have to hold the power button.
Okay, but it's the power button. This has a power button and a Bixby button, dude. Ah! No, but there was remapping of the Bixby button, and then with every there'd be some sort of update that would break it. Like they'd always figure out a way to break it. And for people out there that are like, oh, no, there's a workaround, blah 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 blah. I don't care. My solution is to not press it, and when I do press it, I press cancel.
And that's always been the challenge with anything Android-based / Windows-based is the hardware companies adding their bloatware.
Yeah, well, that's why
much
but that's what
bloatware.
was so good about the Google Pixel is Google makes Android and Google makes the Pixel phone.
So
there's no bloatware. It's vanilla Android straight out of the box. There's no bullshit from carriers. There's no bullshit from the manufacturers. It's vanilla Android. Were you gonna say something, AJ?
No bullshit.
Yeah, no fucking bullshit.
I feel really weird right now, like almost
Really?
sick. Like I hope I don't like puke on the floor or something. I feel very weird.
Puke in that cup if you
Is
do.
it your coffee maybe?
I don't know. I think it feels like lack of sleep and then lack of nutrients and just way too much coffee. So I'm like tired, but I'm stemmed
So it's
out,
like this
but I'm
weird
hungry.
anxiety-driven sickness
and we're like
sort of thing.
yelling and being very passionate.
Yeah, that better not have been puke.
Get your trash can?
Get your little
Dude, if I'm going on this carpet, guys. I'm just doing it.
don't fucking vomit on our carpet. Okay.
Mint.
Next topic. We've got
We got a couple of things we could do.
Bubba Wallace.
Let's just dive right into it.
Bubba Wallace. Okay. So Bubba Wallace, for people not familiar with this situation, I'll give a quick recap.
Yeah, and while you're recapping, I'm gonna go pee.
Okay,
Rest in peace. I gotta make sure I'm not gonna go puke or something.
Yeah, go take care of yourself.
Sorry.
So whoa. Almost not. Yeah. So Bubba Wallace, he is the only black driver in NASCAR. One of the only. I think he's the only black driver in NASCAR, which is a stock car racing series here in the United States. And NASCAR has been known from its roots to be pretty like redneck. Like the audience, I would say, has for lack of a better word, it's pretty redneck. Like the type of people that are very into NASCAR are very traditionally very southern, very hell yeah, brother, let's fucking go down, or not, like
the culture there.
Yeah, fucking Dega. And I mean, watch the movie Talladega Nights. That's a pretty good, accurate, stereotypical representation. Actually, Talladega Nights doesn't have as much like redneck stuff as it just does like white trash type shit. But I by the way, Talladega Nights is one of the best movies. Like that's one of my all-time faves.
Help me, Tom Cruise.
Help me, Tom Cruise. Help me, Oprah Winfrey. But anyways, so Bubba Wallace. So before, let's back up for a second. Last week, NASCAR officially banned the use of flying Confederate flags at any of its events. You can't have a Confederate flag on anything. And I think that was a good move. I mean, let's be honest. The Confederate flag is something that we should probably not be proudly flying. I get that it's part of history and whatever, but the Confederacy actually only lasted like 5 years. It's not like something that's like, oh, Southern heritage, that's my heritage. Nah, dude. It only lasted like 5 years. It got retired pretty much for a long time, and then the KKK were actually the ones that brought it back because it's basically like an overt symbol, but not really. You can hide. You can be like, oh, it's not white supremacy. It's me just like talking about states' rights and Southern pride. Like, if you actually think that, you maybe are one of the small minority, because a lot of people are flying it because they are trying to show that they basically are racist. But anyways, it's one of those things where, like in Germany, they've banned the use of the Nazi flag. I think that's probably a good move. but we live here in America where we have free speech and freedom of expression. So if you want to fly the Confederate flag, you are legally allowed to, but at a private event like a NASCAR event, you are no longer allowed to fly a Confederate flag. And I think that's a good move. I think that flying a Confederate flag like would symbolize to some people that they are not welcome there. And so in the wake of all of this Black Lives Matter stuff and protests, that's what their move was. And this week or earlier last week, I can't remember when it was, there was an event at Talladega, and Bubba Wallace, who is one of the only black drivers, or the only black driver.
He is the only black driver, and something I wanted to touch on.
In the Nextel whatever cup.
I heard you in the bathroom, is NASCAR was brought out of moonshine runners. Back in the Prohibition era, when alcohol was illegal, the only way that you could transport alcohol, which at the time you could only make homemade private moonshine, was done in stock cars that had modified engines and hiding compartments where they could hide the alcohol.
Is that why they call them stock cars? Because they look like a
regular stock car.
Yeah.
That have souped up engines, so you can take back roads and outrun the police. So NASCAR has always been like an outlaw sport. It's always been for running.
It was founded in that type of stuff.
It was founded in an illegal activity to run away from the cops. I mean, that would be the equivalent of like some motorsport being made so that you could transport like weed from state to state, without getting caught. It's like
some sleepers.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna take a Honda minivan and put like a turbocharger and nitrous on it, and then like have secret hidden compartments for the illegal weed. And then if the cops try to pull you over, you just speed off at 120 miles an hour or something crazy like that.
You know what I'd say if I saw that? I go, that's a nice car.
That's a NASCAR right there.
Dude, I just realized I have like a pimple in my nose, and I actually touched it in a weird way, and a tear just came down my face. You heard a pimple in your nose? That's the most painful thing.
Yeah. Whenever I shave my nose hair, I always get ingrown nose pimple hairs. They're the worst.
That's why I don't shave it. I just like trim it.
Yeah, but so they ban the Confederate flag, but someone rented a plane with the flag behind it and flew it over the event anyway.
And it said defund NASCAR behind the flag. But anyways, but that was before. That was after what happened. So they banned Confederate flag. Then there was reports that a noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage. And these garages are not like owned by the drivers. They're owned by the racetrack.
Yeah.
And
each particular garage is huge. It's enough for multiple cars and an entire team.
Yes.
And it's a private key carded, gated, secured area. And
so there was reason to believe that it was a NASCAR employee or another driver or an employee of drivers or a pit crew person
or a team member or something.
Put and planted a noose in his garage to basically scare him. It was, to say
you're not welcome
here. Say, hey, you're not welcome here. I know that you've been outspoken about this whole Confederate flag situation, but fuck you. And there was a lot of uproar about this, and there was,
and I was shocked that NASCAR, out of all the sports, to make a statement and then back it up and then unify. I never would have thought it'd have been NASCAR.
Yeah, but it needed to happen.
Hey NBA, hey NFL, where you at? Catch up.
I mean,
how is a racing series gonna outdo you?
Yes, but also at the same time, is the NBA known for having people overtly flying tons of Confederate flags?
No. But I guess that's why I'm saying it's even more impressive. It's even more impressive that.
And a couple of drivers left saying, I don't like the way that this sport is going.
They retired. They're like, everybody wear face masks, but we can't fly the Confederate flag no more. They're letting black people drive. Like, can you believe this? It's like, wow, okay.
So anyways, they basically had this whole thing where right before the race or whatever at Talladega, all of the pit crews and everyone on every team pushed Bubba's car to the front of the pack, and everyone stood in solidarity with Bubba, and basically
it's pretty empowering.
It was a really empowering thing that happened, and a lot of the leaders from NASCAR were like, shame on you, whoever did this, blah blah blah. And
Lots
then there
of
was
unity.
a full investigation that happened.
15 FBI agents.
FBI. So it wasn't NASCAR investigating only. It was also the FBI came in and investigated
To see if it was a hate crime.
to see if it was a hate crime because, I mean, there was a noose in his stall. And it came out, I think, yesterday or the day before that the FBI said that they fully investigated and this was not a hate crime. And then they elaborated. I think NASCAR came out and basically the thing that happened was the noose in question was really a rope to pull down the garage door. It was a garage door pull
and
in the stall.
and it was fashioned to look like a noose because someone just wanted a circle loop and just tied a knot at the top of it.
Well,
and I don't think
there hasn't been like detailed pictures of the noose yet. My brother sent me one thing, so I don't know how substantiated this is.
but it's something that
But this was the apparently the noose.
that isn't
And I don't know how noose that looks pretty noose-like. See the wound up coil at the top. And here's the thing: I was in Boy Scouts. You were in Boy Scouts. We learned to tie knots and stuff.
yeah.
I don't know if I would have chosen a noose to do that
'Cause
but
it slides.
But I remember in Boy Scouts like tying nooses because we were learning how to tie things, and you're like, yeah, and if you wrap it a bunch more times, that's how you would hang someone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, nooses are very, like in the United States, very racially tied because of lynchings and, you know, literally public hangings of black
that
people.
knot has a utility, but the
That
utility
knot has that utility.
but it's not that utility.
No, it's not that utility.
It's not,
And-
it's
and
not,
the
it's
other
not
thing-
if you were to pull on it, it would slide.
The whole point of the noose is that the knot slides. And also, a lot of people tie nooses to hang themselves. Like it's also like a suicide thing.
Yeah.
So here's my I guess let's finish the story and then we can give our opinions on it.
Yeah.
But apparently it was the only garage pull in all of the stalls that was tied like that. All of the other ones.
Garage 4
Yeah.
out of all the garages, and
And it was the only one that was tied like a noose. And make no mistake, it was tied like a noose. Like everyone is saying, it wasn't just like a little knot. It was tied like a noose, no matter how small or whatever. And so I think some people saw it as a signal. But the thing that they realized was that actually had been there since as early as October 2019, because they found images and videos from that stall where the noose was clearly shown in other instances with other drivers in that stall. So the noose has been there for a long time.
it was a basically like a coincidence that happened at like the height and peak of like if this like civil unrest wasn't happening right now, no one would have ever even noticed it. But the fact that we're in the middle of all this mess, I bet like some crew member that showed up there very early in the morning, like the very first day, was like, oh, someone put a noose in our stall.
Literally.
You know, and like
it wasn't Bubba that found it. It was a crew member.
It was some crew member. And like I'm sure that probably anyone who's worked in a garage like that, who understands how the pulls work, would have looked at that. Like, I can't believe it took 15 agents for them to look at that and go, I mean,
Well,
that's what
no.
that's for,
I think
though.
they knew it was a garage pull. I think they thought someone probably went in and deliberately tied it like a noose to send a signal to him. I don't think
I see.
anyone, like, I don't think there was like, I'm going to tie a noose and throw it in there or something. I thought that's what it was at first. I thought it was like someone made a noose. And also, that noose is not functional. It was attached to a garage door. So, first of all, if you pulled it, it would pull down the garage door. Second of all, that rope was really thin. Like, it wouldn't have held up someone. It's not the traditional type of rope.
But that knot has symbolism behind it.
Exactly, and that knot has symbolism behind it. And again, it's like kind of a coincidence that it was in Bubba's thing. Now, the thing is, a lot of people are saying it's like the Juicy Smollett situation. I can't even say his name right now because of Dave Chappelle. Jesse Smollett, I think, is the real way to say it. But
Are people really comparing it to two?
they
really?
have been. There was on Twitter, it was trending. Bubba Smollett.
Jesse is like
Bubba Smollett.
like a dead ass from the beginning, highly planned out, highly fabricated.
I know, but you're dealing with stupid people, bro.
He paid off people to intentionally like attack him that they found, and they confessed that they're like,
Hey, you're dealing with people who are still wanting to fly the Confederate flag.
yeah, okay.
Like, the people that are really mad about this are also the people that are also mad about not being able to fly the Confederate flag.
My favorite argument I saw, And so back in KC, I've got a friend who still races dirt track modifieds, which is one of the ways that you get into NASCARs. If you get really good in that series, you go up. And he was having a comment in the comment section where he was asking, and he's like, yo, so what's this, what's that? And one of the most ignorant comments I saw, he goes, I'm so sick and tired of everyone talking about racism. You know, the best way to get rid of racism is you just don't talk about it. Don't talk about it anymore. Just leave it alone. Why does everyone have to keep bringing it up? And I'm like, that's the most ignorant, dumb, racist thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, it's funny because I've actually heard this argument a lot, and a lot of people point to this Morgan Freeman quote where someone in an interview asked Morgan Freeman about how we can stop racism. He's like, we need to stop talking about it. That was actually what his answer was. But really, the point was like, why do we have a Black History Month? We don't. Do you want a White History Month? Oh no, you don't. Oh, okay. Yeah. So why do we have a Black History? Like, we're singling out this stuff because is like affirmative action type thing. Like, we don't need affirmative action. We just need people to like not be fucking racist. And while I can kind of get behind the idea of like, yo, the way that we right now, like all the racial tension is like, it feels so high right now is because everyone's talking about it. But the reasons why we're talking about it is because we're exposing all of the fucking racists. Like, it's not like we're just fabricating nothing. I mean, I can understand, like, fabricating this whole news story. I could see how NASCAR wants to fabricate some story so they can push their woke agenda. They're trying to move the sport forward and like I get how you could come to that conclusion, but again, that's people going, okay, let's look. What's this organization? What is Black Lives Matter doing? Who's funding it? Blah 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 blah. Nah, dude, we need to zoom all the way back and look at history and look at the fact that, like you said, what is NASCAR founded in? It was founded in this old time where, at the time, you know, it was based in Prohibition era. Guess what was also happening in Prohibition era? Fucking Jim Crow laws and stuff, where black people were still segregated and weren't allowed to use the same water fountain. You don't think any of that has still trickled its way into the sport? I'd be hard pressed to say no. I mean, a lot of it has.
I'm not disagreeing.
No, I know. I'm more disagreeing with. I'm furthering your argument about, like, I think that some people are like, yo, we need to just stop fucking talking about this, dude. If we stop talking about it, it'll go away and things will go back to normal. And it's like, dude, the reason why things feel like they're uprooted and things like that is because we're finally exposing what's been happening for so long. And by not talking about it, we are just going to sweep it back under the rug,
which is not cool.
Which we cannot let that happen, because we're only going to experience these types of issues more, and it's just going to bubble up back again. I mean, we're seeing the same stuff that happened in the Rodney King riots. We're seeing the same thing that happened when MLK was assassinated. We're seeing all of these same things, history
Trayvon
repeating
Martin,
itself.
Michael
and
Brown.
until we make like actual changes, nothing's going to fucking change.
Breonna Taylor, George Floyd.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually had like something like that written in my notes earlier about BLM. And it was basically like, should we be hiding the racists and pretending like it doesn't exist, or should we be highlighting them to shame them and show how ugly we really are as a society? And I think that's where it makes sense. Like, we need to be highlighting these people because we need to we need to show that there is another side of this. We've been highlighting so many other things. Like, we've been highlighting in the media for years and years and years and portraying people that are not white as the criminals and as the perpetrators of all this stuff. And we need to fucking expose these racist ass white people for once, bro.
Well, also the institutions. I mean, if you look at the 13th Amendment, there's an amendment inside of the amendment that says, except for when they're criminals. And then you look at the amount of the prison population. What is it? The U.S. is responsible for 30-40% of the entire world's
I think it's
prison
25%
population,
of the world.
And over 80% of that is black males.
I'm not going to give any stats because I don't know if I'm off the top of my head.
They're
it's
huge.
Not, it's not
massive.
80, but it's a lot.
Maybe it's 40%. 40 and 40.
80 and 40 are very different. Let's not throw out numbers. But
yeah, I'm not informed on the specifics, but I will say that they're huge.
But
we know.
but yeah, and that's a whole nother issue with incarceration and all that stuff. Agreed. But yeah, like, it is kind of funny, this idea of like, guys, the way that we solve this shit is we just stop talking about it. Well, it's just such a terrible
there's
argument.
a part of it that I agree on, right? So I saw this post by someone, and like, I agreed, except for it was for the wrong reasons. It was like, if you're looking for all the negative things in your life, all you're gonna see is the negative.
That's true.
You know, if you're constantly, gossiping and focusing about this and talking about that, then you're going to have a bad, sad, negative life.
100%.
Like,
if you're always looking for someone to be the aggressor, you're always going to be the victim.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then it went, and it's like, 99% of police officers are fine, but you're just focusing on the few, and 99% of people aren't racist. You're just focusing on the few, and it was like
99% of priests don't molest little boys. It's only the 1% that fucking twiddle little boys.
But yeah, it was this whole thing.
And then when they get fired, they actually don't get fired. They just switch them around to another church,
another parish. Yeah, just move them around.
It's the same fucking shit. No, we need to expose the organization. You don't. You're not born being a cop.
It's
you
a shirt.
choose it.
It's literally a shirt.
So when you fucking choose to be a cop, you better fucking hold your organization accountable. And I understand that there's so many different precincts. There's literally hundreds of thousands of precincts all around the United States.
And it's so entrenched in politics, and it's so corrupt,
and it's not a fucking easy job, dude. I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah.
But the thing
I don't want to be a cop the same way I don't want to be the president. Like, no.
Well, it's literally you're a public servant. That's what a politician is supposed to be.
Don't
is
call
a
me
public
a servant. I'm a powerhouse. I can
dude,
do whatever I want whenever I want.
We pay your fucking taxes. Like, we pay your fucking salary, Like, that's... But it gets so withdrawn because, again, a police officer is just a person, but they're given so much power that it's very easy to abuse that power. There was something that came out recently where they caught some cops in North Carolina talking on the radio about how they were ready to go kill some N-words, literally.
Yeah, well, also, you guys remember that video that came out of New York City cops running over those crowd of protesters? Like, the crowd of protesters, like, put a fence up against the bumper, and then they just rammed it.
Yeah.
Like, the radio, like, TMZ caught over the air, and it was like, hey, man, we're going to get stuck if we go around this corner, man. They're going to trap us. I don't know. Pull out your gun and shoot a few of these motherfuckers. Be like, yeah, I don't know. Run them over. And then one of the goes, don't say that over the air.
Yeah.
He didn't say, don't say that. He didn't say, don't do that. He said, don't say it over the air.
Yeah. There was another instance like that. It's not good. But I posted a clip from the last podcast on my Facebook, actually, last week. Got a lot of attention.
Yeah, I saw that. I was a part of it. And I think you had edited some things around it to be like more precise in the conversation.
I edited a lot of it because there were certain things that I was like, this is not going to be concise enough for Facebook.
And out of context might not make a lot of sense.
I cut it down to like 5 minutes basically, but I got some good dialogue there. A lot of people seem to enjoy it.
Damn it. Sorry, guys.
But speaking of police and stuff, actually, I know that we talked about it briefly before the podcast, but this whole like Chaz Chop situation in Seattle is pretty interesting.
I want to, before we touch on that, I want to touch on something that I learned this week. So a lot of times when people hear the word defund police, they don't really know what that means. And I think that personally, defund the police is a bad chant. I think reappropriate police funds is a better way to say that. And we can look at...
But that would be what defunding means, right?
Yeah, but when people think defund, they think take away money, make our police less strong, make it not as good, not as robust.
Do though.
Just let me finish what I'm saying. So in the 30s and 40s, the ambulance system was actually a part of the police system, the police department. And to have to drive, and to be support on an ambulance was actually a form of punishment. It was a demotion. So if you got in trouble, or if you were demoted, or you were being punished at your precinct, you were put on ambulance duty. And this was the 30s and the 40s. And any police that was put on ambulance duty in black neighborhoods, there was a very large spike in deaths and further complications, and a lot of difficulties with keeping them alive. And it was a big bad problem, and this lasted for years because the police were trying to do everything, kind of like they're still trying to do right now, where they're trying to do the job of a social worker, and they're just doing
too much.
And
anytime there's a problem, what do? You call 911. Then you either get the fire department or the police, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, fire, police, and ambulance.
But when you call an ambulance, a police person still comes.
Yeah, usually when you call 911, you get all three. usually.
Yeah. Well, not a fire unless if there's a fire, you get all three. But
even if there's no fire, sometimes they send the fire because they're like EMTs or EMS or they're highly certified.
True.
But so anyway, there came a problem where it's like, okay, we need to take away this funding from the police and we need to privatize it. So that would be a way of defunding the ambulance service because there was a lot of deaths. Arguably, the ambulance service still has a lot of problems because it can bankrupt you. You know, calling 911 because
I'd rather call an Uber.
No, seriously, seriously, if it's not urgent, if you can get someone to drive you, or you can jump.
Think about
on
it.
Uber,
Uber's like $15, an ambulance like $700.
$1,500.
Yeah, and it depends. I've had to get an ambulance a couple of times, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, there's like the initial cost,
and a lot of times it's not covered by insurance. Like it's stupid.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the privatization.
People that live in Europe right now are literally just cackling. They're like, what?
Yeah, it costs anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 to just call and have them pick you up. Then you have to.
That's not including the hospital bill you're going to get. That's literally just the ambulance.
And you have to pay per mile, and you have to pay for any of the supplies that you used inside of the ambulance. So if they like put a cast on you or put a blanket on you or give you any type of drugs, like you got to pay for all those things too.
Oh yeah,
which is crazy.
And it is marked up like a motherfucker.
I mean, that's all medical. Anything is marked up crazy because it's like, haha, what are you gonna do, sucker? But anyway, basically, the ambulance system, the ambulance services was something that came out of defunding the police. It was the result of what happens when you take away money from the police department when they're trying to do something that they shouldn't be doing.
But if they privatized it, then that money wouldn't have been allocated towards ambulances and stuff. It would have just been taken away from police, right?
Okay, so maybe it wasn't immediately privatized but currently it's privatized.
Yeah.
But it was just transitioned from.
And also we're talking about how corrupt it is, but we're also saying how good it is. I know I'm agreeing with you, but it's also kind of funny because it's like,
I wouldn't say it's corrupt.
This was a good situation because we defunded the ambulances, but now they just fuck us over. Well,
I just meant in the sense of like, that's why I'm acknowledging that there's still problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am acknowledging the fact that
this is what we did.
It's not police anymore. We're like, if you call an ambulance and you have drugs on you and your friend drug overdosed, neither of you can get in trouble. Like ambulance are not police. Like if you're inside of an ambulance and they're trying to like diagnose you, like after your broken arm and you're bleeding, they're like, did you use any drugs? Like, do you have any drugs in your system? Like, did you drink tonight? You know, you can answer all those questions and feel safe because you know you're not going to get arrested for it.
You should be able to feel safe. I don't think a lot of people do because they don't know that. But yeah.
Right. And then in certain states, like in Georgia, they've got like an immunity for if you're high and you even have drugs on you, or if your friend has drugs on you, you can call 911 and be like, hey, my friend's overdosing, come help. And then you can't get in trouble. Like there's like a law that says like you cannot, like they cannot arrest you. They cannot get you in trouble. Like no possession charges, no nothing. Like it doesn't matter. They're there to save lives. And I think that's the whole thing is like ambulances now there to save lives. And it's like, hopefully what we can do is find ways to defund the police to where maybe anytime that there's a domestic disturbance, a social worker who specialized in relationships shows up. Or if there is a situation where there's like a drunk guy in a parking lot, you know, or like maybe the homeless population, or like, you know, something where like I feel like police are asked to do way too much and be trained on way too much. And, you know, even I think about like mental health problems, like police probably shouldn't be dealing with that, you know.
No.
You know, like that's.
Well, the thing about it is, we've been defunding a lot of things for many years. We've been defunding education. We've been defunding the school system at the same time, pumping more and more money into police. So it's like we've been defunding a lot of things for many years.
And the things that we're defunding are directly correlated to increase in crime. So it's like
totally.
It's like if you are high, like you have a higher level of education and you are in school and involved in after school programs, the likelihood of you being a criminal is less. You know,
yeah, exactly.
It's like so it does it's like how about we fix the root like I feel like cops is just like Neosporin and a Band-Aid.
Well, dude, that's America for you, bro. Like the whole idea of Western medicine is not treating the root cause. It's treating the symptoms.
Yeah, it's like,
and that's exactly what we do across the board, bro. Like we do that with so many things, and it's really disgusting because we don't focus on what the actual problems are. We're just trying to cover it all up with a Band-Aid, which is disgusting. But Dude, that's why honestly I've been looking a lot at there's another third party political candidate right now, Jo Jorgensen,
The Libertarian.
Yeah, she's running as a libertarian, and a lot of the stuff that she's running on right now is involving a lot of these things that the protests are calling for. And I think that here's my take. I voted third party last election too, and a lot of people are going to say, well, a vote for, back at that time when it was Hillary versus Trump and it was Gary Johnson was the third party. A lot of people were saying a vote for third party is a vote for Trump, and then a lot of people on the other side, there's a lot of Trump people here in Georgia that go a vote for third party is a vote for Hillary, and so it's just kind of funny, and it's like, hey, no, a third party vote is a vote for third party. It's not a vote for anyone.
I want to do my civic duty, but I'm not about to press a button that says put this person in office if I don't like that person.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing about third party is
by
in
the
the
way,
United States,
you can even type in your own third parties like
you can say anything.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, you can say anything. And sometimes that's actually gotten a pretty big, I think this year, if we made some like, with the help of like the TikTok army and fucking K-pop stands, I bet that we could get The Rock like a high nomination. Like people would just be like right at the poll station, right in The Rock, and probably it would get like some decent traction, you know, like or whoever.
Johnson, yeah.
But
they
the
did it
funny,
in 2016. SpongeBob won like 3% of the vote.
yeah, and like Vermin Supreme has won like a decent chunk sometimes. But anyways,
that's the guy with the boot on his head.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Vermin Supreme is the man. But Jo Jorgensen, like a lot of her big platform goals is like no jail time for victimless crimes. Like if you're caught with like possession of drugs, like yeah, that's probably not the best thing. And like where'd you get them? Blah blah blah. But like you shouldn't get locked in a fucking cage for being someone who's struggling with drug addiction. Like
or even just has some drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Or even just has some drugs. Like for example, I think that's a reason why a lot of people are scared of cops because they're gonna call the cops for one reason, but then over the course of what happens,
they're gonna find a bunch of other reasons.
Things.
Yeah,
that's another thing. Is like
so
traffic
you got a suspended license, and you got a turn signal
looks
out.
Like
and,
you're going to jail.
And your tag isn't up to date.
Yeah.
So your insurance coverage
Jorgensen,
isn't good.
her platform is pardoning all nonviolent offenders of victimless crimes, which is amazing. That needs to for sure happen.
I mean, and that's a huge reach, though.
That's a huge reach, but that's what her platform. Dude, but also Trump said he was going to build a wall, and he fucking didn't. So you can run on anything.
But I'm
just saying that's what her core values are.
The prison industrial system will be so pissed. They will lobby so hard to make sure that never happens.
But guess what? We're the fucking taxpayers, and that's why we're marching in the fucking streets. That's why the protests are happening.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying it's a big ask.
I know.
We have a lot of people behind it.
No shit.
Yeah. And I agree. I hope it does happen.
Repealing
That's cool.
all laws for victimless crimes, end qualified immunity for law enforcement, end the failed war on drugs, end militarization of police, end civil asset forfeiture, and end mandatory system sentencing, which is basically like the 3 strikes you're out rule, and basically, you did this crime and we know you probably shouldn't get this amount of jail time, but because the law says it, this is the minimum sentencing
that's how I spent jail time. I spent 10 days in jail for a parking violation because in the county that I'm in, if you miss court twice, and I didn't even know I'd missed court the first time. So I showed up to court, and apparently that it was confusing. But literally, the judge was like, I see you're disabled. I see you qualify. Like you've got your stickers with you. Like everything's up to date. But
because you didn't pay these tickets.
But mandatory. No, it had nothing to do with paying the tickets. It's if two failure to appears is automatic 10 days. Automatic 10 days for a failure to appear.
And even though the reason why you should have had to appear would have been appealed.
Exactly, but it's just because failure to appear. So I spent 10 days in county jail, which is like ridiculous for a disabled guy who spends 10 days in county jail for
what? That's
for
not helping anyone.
For parking in a handicapped parking spot. Like,
here's what that accomplishes. You have less faith in the justice system. You have less faith in police. You also made taxpayers spend money on all the employees running all the situation, on all the food that you got in there, all that bullshit. You're literally taking up space. Like, it's just ridiculous. And the thing is, with third party is the reason why I even want to bring attention to it.
It was so unnecessary.
Glad they got you off the streets, though.
Yeah, I'm glad they fucking got you off the streets
for 10 whole days.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Honestly, the people that I met inside of jail were way worse of an influence. Like,
oh yeah,
there was some guy that was like, dude, it was like it was crazy. I'm like, is this business as usual in here? Like, what's going on here? Like, this is insane. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a fucking jail. I mean, the thing is do jails need to exist for violent people who have proven time and time again to not be deemed worthy of living in our society? Of course. Like, if you're a fucking murderer or if you're a rapist, yeah, you can go fucking rot in a jail cell, and I do not feel bad about that. But if you're just a fucking guy that got caught with weed in his pocket, fuck you. If you're a guy that, again, victimless crimes, that's the funniest thing. It's like, the reason why you should be locked away is because you are a danger to society, and you should be treated like a fucking danger to society. Someone who has not committed any crimes towards anyone else should not be locked in a fucking cell. I don't care who you are.
I think there's some nonviolent crimes that maybe involve
victimless crimes, nonviolent and victimless.
I think victim,
if there is a victimless crime,
I think victims, yes, but there are nonviolent crimes that have big implications on their victims. So,
yeah.
So I think
no. I sorry if I mixed the words. I meant to say victimless crimes. There should be no jail time for a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Like having weed in your pocket. Who is the victim besides you?
I mean, nothing. I mean,
exactly. And there are so many people locked up because of possession, bro.
And that's the whole thing I like about
shit.
libertarian is like, I don't really align with any political party, but if anything, I'd say like I'm a centrist, libertarian-ish, whatever. I don't even know.
Here's the thing.
But the thing is like, I like the idea of complete autonomy, human autonomy, which basically means like it's your body, it's your life. You should be able to do whatever you want to do with it, and that includes, doing drugs and having abortions. Here's what
libertarians actually support: more money in your pocket, less money in the government pocket, more gun freedoms than Republicans, more LGBTQ freedoms than Democrats, lowering CO2 emissions, lowering healthcare costs, free and open trade, making it easier to start a small business, bringing our troops home, legalizing weed, and ending police militarization. All those things sound fucking awesome.
Yeah, and a couple years ago, they would have sounded absolutely insane.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, if you compare what's happening, like, you look at Donald Trump and you're like, okay, this guy is not fit to be president. And then you look at Joe Biden, he is definitely not fit to be president, for sure. Dude, like, he's one of the worst examples of who we should have as a president.
Well, I want to know what the point is of having the 25th Amendment, which, by the way, is the amendment that says if the president can't do his duties, the vice president steps in. Because, granted, Pence has the potential, because he's way more religious than Trump, to be more dangerous, but also I don't think Pence would be as bad.
Racist and shitty.
As bad.
Well, the thing about it is there's got to be some
Trump.
sort of rule like that, because if something happens, there needs to be a chain of command, like.
But that's what I'm saying.
Is
like the point of the 25th Amendment is like, yo, you're not fit to do your job. We got a VP.
But who's to say?
You're out,
a doctor, like obviously he's still kicking. Whatever. If the nation voted him in.
Currently, the biggest evidence of him being unfit is that USA is the only country who does not have Corona in check right now. Everyone else is on a big, is on a huge.
I don't know.
A large number is on
a first world country probably
is on a huge decline, and that the numbers are looking great, but there's I was going to say,
I've heard a lot of stuff in some third world countries is not looking good with COVID right now.
Do you know anything about India at all?
No, and I also heard a lot of stuff about Libya too, and I don't want to get into it because I don't know enough, but I know that there's some situations out there. But the last thing I was going to say about Joe is that she's also a doctor. She has experience in business. She's never been accused of sexual assault, which Donald Trump and Joe Biden both have. She supports individual freedoms, which Joe Biden and Donald Trump don't. Actually, it's funny because Joe, if you look back on a lot of the things he stands for,
it's just like Hillary. When
he
you
talked about back in the day, he talked about segregation. He said if we put blacks in white schools, it'll be like a jungle.
Yeah.
He literally said that. Like, what the fuck?
It's like Hillary.
This is not your guy.
In the 90s, Hillary said some stuff that was like super anti-woman, but now.
Yeah, and she was anti-gay.
Yeah.
She said stuff that was very anti-gay. And then all of a sudden, once it becomes like trendy, a normal, trendy popular thing, of course, and that's the thing. It's like, it's so silly to me. Again, I don't know how I mean, obviously we're talking politics right now in the United States, but it's like the only way we're going to get a third party is if we start actually taking it fucking seriously and stop playing these stupid team games of like team left and team right,
bipartisan
dude. No,
shit. Yeah.
fuck that, dude. Like, and I think that there's a growing group of people that are very centrist and very moderate, and they feel like the only way they can vote right now is Biden because they're like there's so much hatred towards Trump and they just want to get him out. And trust me, I feel that urge too. But the only way we're ever going to give legitimacy to a third party is if we fucking vote third party. Like, even if there's no chance in hell that we win, if we get that percentage up to 10% voting, that's a big accomplishment. We can say, hey, look what happened on the last election. There was 10% of people that were even willing to vote third party. If we can create a compelling argument and get someone good in there, maybe next time we can bump it up to 20, and then maybe next time we can bump it up to 25, and then maybe the next time we can fucking win. But it's never going to happen if no one ever votes third party because everyone's just so worried about, oh, a vote for third party is a vote for Trump. A vote for third party is actually a vote for Biden.
Are you a blue guy or a red guy? Are you a donkey or are you an elephant? Are you left or are you right? Hey, I'm a human being.
I'm going to vote on the issues. And right now the issues are Joe Biden's fucking creepy and definitely not fit for the job. Donald Trump is definitely not fit for the job and he's a fucking racist. And like, what else do we fucking have? I don't know what else to say.
I think at this point it's better to focus on your state and local because
but it sets the mood for the whole thing. I mean, yeah, the local elections just happened here in Georgia.
Did you see that?
I mean, I voted.
Did you see that there was
but we're on a podcast talking to people around the world, you know?
Yeah, did you see the big time voter suppression that was happening in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah. I mean, we have like 30 seconds left on this time.
Yeah.
But, and we didn't talk about Seattle. Maybe we can talk about it next week. But because there's probably going to be some pretty big news because the government is going out and saying they're going to break up CHOP and Chaz. I would definitely look up CHOP and Chaz and CHOP in Seattle if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's pretty interesting what's happening there. And I would agree with a lot of people saying that is an example of the left gone wrong and taking anti-racism and inclusion a little bit too far.
It's like we're in The Walking Dead. The governor.
There's certain instances there where it's like, this is a garden for black people and indigenous people only. And it's like, where have we seen signs that segregate people before? Like, this water fountain is for blacks only. Seems like fucking Jim Crow.
Aggressive inclusion looks like segregation.
Literally, it's swinging so far to the left that it's like coming back around to the right. And it's like, you do realize with your radical inclusion, you're literally not including these people. Of course, you can say, well, they're not included because they have privilege, blah, 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 blah. We can talk about it next week, but yeah.
If you've made
this is a good episode.
Yeah, if you've made it this far in the episode, I want to say thank you for listening, and I've got one quick favor to ask you. If you could jump onto your favorite listening platform, so whatever platform you're on right now, make sure that you subscribe and make sure that
they're already listening, so
you don't have to be subscribed to listen.
True.
And leave a review. Leave us a 5-star review and give us a little update about what you think about the show. But even more importantly, tell someone you know. Tell your mother, your brother, your cousin, your friend, your dude at work, someone you know at the gym. Like, if you're friends with someone
and you genuinely like this podcast, like,
then
people talk about podcasts. Yeah, like, people talk about podcasts a lot, and I see it on Facebook. I see it on, a lot of people are like, oh, does anyone have good podcast recommendations? If you listen to this podcast all the way through, we know you like this podcast, so please share it with your friends. It goes a long way. And a good way to do that is to just take a screenshot of whatever you're listening on right now and post it on your Instagram story. That's a really easy way to share it.
Yeah. Word of mouth is probably like the most powerful, but social media is also really powerful.
I mean, that is basically word of mouth these days.
Yeah.
I mean, if people are having discussions about that kind of thing, I feel like it's probably happening on social media. But I think that's pretty much it, right? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Catch us on places? I said catch us on places.
Catch us on go catch COVID. Bye.